Greetings, heroes and Force users of all ages, and welcome back to Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. As always, I'm Dino Nicandros, and I'm joined by my good friends, Alyssa Simmons.
Hello, nerds.
And Daniel Dawson.
Hello there.
And today, we are talking the season finale of The Mandalorian, Chapter 24, The Return, directed by Rick Famuyiwa, written by Jon Favreau, and by God, we're Star Wars fans.
I don't know who you are or where you came from.
I am Iron.
I thought they smelled bad. On the outside.
Smells like a new car in here.
Inside the Tauntaun, this is our opening song. Alyssa, Daniel, Dino, talking nerd stuff, come along. Inside the Tauntaun podcast, please like and subscribe.
Oh, finale.
Finally.
A finale.
Finally.
The last time we did a Mandalorian finale, we were in the depths of quarantine.
Oh, I don't want to go
It's
back to
true.
those times.
Oh, brother.
That was the worst.
Just crying our eyes out all alone by ourselves.
That was I didn't like I guess well I think I did think about it, but like that was very multi-layered sadness that we were going through.
Indeed.
Don't leave me.
We were all so vulnerable.
Well,
They took advantage of our vulnerability.
They did.
Those bastards.
and it worked.
It worked. Yeah, it did. It did. It set a very high precedent. It did.
Yeah.
So
all right.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, how are you guys? Are you guys good?
Oh, God. All right,
Yeah.
just get it out.
Just
Yeah,
tell
fine.
me.
Yeah.
One word.
Well,
That's all I need.
One word. Okay. Jeez.
Describe your mood in one word.
My mood.
Mhm.
I'm gonna say.
That's so many words already.
No. My word's coming.
Even more words.
Shut up, you two.
It's just more words.
Tired.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
Yeah, is a good word.
Yeah, that's my. That's it.
it.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, honestly, same.
You're both ums.
We're both ums.
The word.
Please.
Oh god, but enough about us.
So we have wrapped up season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Yes.
General thoughts.
General.
We'll go to each of you. Just general overview, and then we'll kind of get into the pros and cons. So, Alyssa,
Yeah.
what was your
first.
feeling on
The season as a
finale.
whole.
Ooh.
Or the finale? Or season
both?
as a
No,
whole?
well, both.
Yeah, give us both.
Okay. I'm going to say season as a whole. I loved like 3 episodes.
Yes.
The other ones I still enjoyed. Then the one weird one. That's my overview.
The one weird one, but yes, the weirdest one.
Yeah, the one weird one.
Yeah.
The one weirdest one.
Weirdest one, yes. Mm-hmm.
In generals on the finale, thoroughly enjoyed myself. Wow, that was violent for Star Wars.
It was.
Yeah.
It sure was.
Yeah, in particular the shield scene, obviously, when Mando
Shield
took
scene.
down all those dark troopers.
Mhm.
Whoa. That was stabby.
Brutal.
And then we gotta go back to our phrase that we used to say all the time about Grogu.
Poop
About
in
the-
your eyeballs.
About the
No, that wasn't it?
No, you texted us this about the end of the whole entire episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeet. It was very cute.
So freaking cute.
Fucking cute.
Yeah, there were a couple of really him jumping around too.
Oh,
onto
yes.
that upper scaffolding.
Yeah,
They
there
were
was-
literally tossing a puppet.
Yeah, there was
and inserting like baby squeals. Like
we were kind of getting into like marionette puppet territory with the way that the
Yes.
feet are moving now. They're like,
I know it was making me giggle, but
yes, it's
I still-
absolutely adorable.
yeah. So those are my generals of
generally,
the finale.
yep.
Daniel.
Generally, I think I'd agree. I think if you were gonna put like the last 3 seasons in order of like likability, I guess. I think I'm not sure about which one would be first and second, but I know that this one probably would be third for me. I think. Doesn't mean I didn't like it. Just means it's not my favorite.
Didn't do for you what first and second seasons did.
Yeah, I guess it maybe wasn't as emotionally impactful. I did.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong. Like, generally, there were general times in this last.
How many more times can you say that word?
General.
Ugh.
What about specifically?
I had some very
Yeah.
general
Oh, don't-
tears that were shed in this general finale.
Hate you so much.
But yeah, there were truthfully there were some very touching moments in this finale that were really, really great. I was delighted with a lot of the action scenes. It was because I was like, oh, here's some money. Yes, this is very
Yeah,
expensive
this definitely
looking and
was the
cool.
most expensive. It felt like the most expensive episode.
Potentially, yeah. But yeah, so there was exciting things to look at. I want to say that, like, did I fall into the trap of thinking Star Wars was more complicated than it is? Yes, I did. And I immediately caught myself and I was like, don't get upset about it. This is Star Wars doesn't have to be complicated. It's oftentimes very simple. And yeah, so there was it was fairly everything was very convenient, we'll say, I guess. And for better or for worse, I guess. And yeah, I think that's my generals. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dino.
Yeah, you both raised good points.
You're both wrong, but
you
And watch me smash them to the ground.
you raised some points. I hope you don't care to see them survive this conversation. No, I'm in general. God, I'm not going to say that word.
no, do it.
I'm in agreement with both of you.
A general agreement. Ah!
Visually, the season
I
as a
gotta
whole.
tell a story. We were doing
Oh,
a
God.
show. I'm so sorry. There's like I think it was Crazy for You. Actually, we were doing Crazy for You many years ago, back when Jesus was a baby, and there there was in the script, like, it said for like the ensemble, like, in parentheses, general agreement, and that's
Oh no.
that was the
That's the worst possible thing you could write.
that was the only thing we said. Everyone's like, general agreement, general agreement, yes.
Idiots.
I'm so sorry. Please
Hate
continue your
actors.
general thoughts.
Visually, both season-wide, but in particular this episode, it was breathtaking.
Ooh, yeah.
I was really, really impressed
Mm-hmm.
with the action sequences. What I will remember this season for
Mhm.
is, and I need to be careful in my criticism because, as Daniel said, Star Wars doesn't always need to be the most complicated,
Yeah.
endeavor. But what I will remember this season for is setups with little payoff.
Yes.
That's fair.
That's just within the confines of this season. Whether they have
Sure.
intentions of revisiting things they kind of opened the door on in season 4 or in another show, then
What's
then
crazy
fine.
to hear you, I mean, it like, to hear you say that, which I honestly agree, but like comparing it to, like, if you're just listing all the things that happened, like taking back Mandalore, destroying the Darksaber, like all of these very, like, seemingly huge Star Wars lore things.
Yeah, I
that still didn't have as big of
I
an
was
impact.
quite shocked that they destroyed the Darksaber.
Yeah, I mean,
Right-
honestly,
right then.
it's probably. I mean, I don't know. I want to say it might, like, narratively, it might be for the better, but it's hard to say though. But regardless though, it felt like, on your point, Dino, it just wasn't as impactful as you think that would be.
And for the Darksaber in particular, I was shocked. This is how they dealt with that.
Did it.
But But I'm not sure that's going to bother people who are watching The Mandalorian that didn't necessarily watch the animated
Yeah,
shows. And there's
for
a
sure.
very large chunk of casual Star Wars watchers that probably weren't as attached to the lore of that.
Right.
And if that's the case, then I think that served its purpose. And the Darksaber, in my opinion, kind of already fulfilled its role
Right.
in uniting Mandalorians.
Totally.
I just
but
like the look of it. I
It's
don't
a
want it to.
cool
I don't
thing.
want it to be gone because I like to look at
They're
it.
just gonna have
But,
to make a new one that's even
going-
cooler.
going back to your point, Daniel, about how something as big as the liberation of Mandalore,
Yeah.
and maybe this is a little bit of us building it
The
up.
Liberace of
Wait.
Mandalore.
Maybe it's us building it up way too much in our minds, but that was another thread of the season where seemingly big moments
Mhm.
didn't include all that many people. And
Right.
Mhm.
and like I'm thinking of when the pirates attacked Navarro
Mhm.
and 30 townspeople run out of the town. I'm kind of like,
Yeah, that was
Okay.
that was a disappointing extra casting.
Yeah, it's maybe like the there wasn't the danger felt like there wasn't a lot of danger
Well, and
that's
then-
kind of like going on this like the word that I said that everything was fairly convenient. in
Yeah, we
this
talked about that
season.
last week too.
Totally.
It's just sort of like they have these tasks that they're set out to do,
Several
and
errands to run.
they solve A, B, and then oh look how easy it was. C is done, and the thing is completed. Yay!
Yeah.
well, and then take it. I have some basic questions just about retaking Mandalore and what they meant by that all of this time. Because remember, up until recently, Bo-Katan and most everyone else believed the planet was poison. So,
Right.
Mhm.
so who are they taking it back from if it's poison and
Right.
nothing lives there? And then they get there, and we find out there's a secret Imperial base,
Right.
but not one they would have known about ahead of time. So
And are
were
we
they
just
going
like
to?
kind of assume that Moff Gideon has been there like basically ever since he bombed it?
It looks like they've been there a long, long time.
Yeah, because that
Yeah.
base
It looked quite set up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they didn't actually know the Empire was on Mandalore, who are they taking it back from?
Mm.
Back from nature.
Maybe no, and that's perfectly valid too, because I believe there was a comment about
Yeah, like
indigenous
the
creatures that
plants
had-
and creatures, and yeah.
And that's, potentially other, I thought I was thinking about previous titles of episodes, and this is called The Return. So my mind was going wild about return. I mean, like the obvious choice obviously is them returning to Mandalore,
Yes.
But it could also mean like just like Mandalore itself returning back to its,
Sure.
its more nature state. But I was
they do take a moment in the episode with the the underground garden.
Yeah, right.
Things just
yeah,
need
that,
room
that
to grow.
life was sprouting up in different parts of the planet, and they were
Totally.
able to facilitate that farming area.
My imagination ran a little too wild because I was thinking, oh, who else could return? But then he did.
Palpatine.
Oh, well,
Somehow.
yes, and I thought
That's
maybe
later.
we might get a little through in some, but like, see now
Yeah,
having
we
seen
thought
the
a
episode, there was
possible-
nowhere he would have fit in that episode.
No.
That would
No,
have made
unless they would have
sense.
done a little teeny post credit.
Yeah, and that's
moment.
kind of maybe what I was thinking, but me. But we
And
did get,
actually,
oh, sorry,
no,
ahead.
go for it. No, after you.
We did get a flavor, at least a mention of him the episode before, so at least
Yeah.
we felt his
Mhm.
presence to a certain degree, but
So that was my general question about even the goal of taking Mandalore, and then them doing it. I don't know. I remember back in season 2 when they
Mhm.
were getting the gang together, just imagining
What that
something
was going to look like.
really large
Yeah,
scale,
yeah.
and this was really cool. I mean,
Mhm.
seeing what we saw in Clone Wars and Rebels with Mandalorians fighting each other with jetpacks, and
fucking
I-
sick. Like the
that shot of Bo-Katan pulling the darksaber out
Ugh.
and leading like a
So
cavalry
cool,
charge.
So cool.
And
Yeah.
and
it
the freaking
was-
armor like hammering people out of the
Yeah.
sky. I was like,
hammering
yes!
people in midair, and
That
I
was absolutely
excellent. And the shot construction, just having the camera over people's shoulders. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
This is sick.
Yeah, like the shot of what's his name? The one that we thought was potentially the spy,
Axe.
but yeah,
Excellent.
like his shot of him going up into
Yeah,
space
through the
like,
atmosphere. Yeah, that was
very
cool.
very very cool. It looked like real.
But just kind of on the topic of things that kind of bothered me that were unresolved,
Sure.
or even setups that if they do get any sort of payoff, it'll be a long time.
Potentially.
The introduction of Gideon's clones and then the subsequent drowning
And
of
then
them.
immediate destroying. Yeah, that was a thrilling and then
And then not thrilling. I wonder though if there was a thought. Well, no. It's. I mean, I shouldn't poo-poo it away completely, but I'm sort of answering my own question. Like there is a thought out there that potentially the one that we did see was a
sure.
clone.
Because of the mustache.
Because of the
And
mustache.
I was like, guys, just stop. He
Which is
just
so
shaved
funny!
for this. Just enough.
Oh my God. But no, again, we have to remember Star Wars is usually simple and we don't need the complications.
That being said, we didn't see Gideon's body.
No, he's
That
not
is
gone.
also true. That is literally the body
But
evaporated.
I'm
They can't have him be gone yet. He's such a cool
Oh,
character.
I'm
He's
very
very cool.
frustrated at the build up to Gideon and what his plan was after all this time.
Yeah.
And then when he's walking down that hallway, I was like, "Oh,
Ooh.
okay, like cool."
Yeah, right.
Then they get drowned.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. So
They did not survive.
Yeah, the idea
No.
of him having and I love that. I kind of love it because I mean, like all of us were because that was a really cool reveal. Because all of us pretty much up until now were just assuming that this was part of the plan to get Palpatine back.
Palpatine. Yeah.
But like, I mean, we are seeing like maybe how they might do it, but this is all completely for his self-serving purpose.
And yet somehow this is Moff Gideon said in the last episode with the Shadow Council that he was talking to Hux and said, "No, you're the one obsessed with cloning.
You are."
So that's maybe what Hux is doing is a separate, maybe more related to Palpatine. Although I don't,
Necromancy.
I've maintained that the
Is that what
the
they call it?
cloning of
Project
Pal-
Necromancy, right?
Project
Mhm.
Necromancer, and I've maintained that
Necromancer.
none of them are attempting to clone Palpatine. That is done in secret. I think
Maybe
it's
right.
stuff like what Gideon is doing.
Maybe.
Um,
Yeah, that's
But,
interesting. That didn't even occur to me. It might be something completely.
Because the only
Completely
people that know about Exegol are those Sith cultists and Vader at one point. Like nobody else knows about it. So
Oh
I
my
don't
God!
think...
What if the Return of Thrawn is just like a fucking clone? Oh my God!
Well, look, it's funny you mentioned that because the introduction of this idea of giving Gideon's
He's not
clones
here yet.
force
He's
abilities.
still cooking.
That is a plot line from Heir to the Empire.
Oh, it is.
Okay.
Where Thrawn worked with a cloned Jedi.
Oh
A
yeah,
cloned Dark Jedi.
I think I read Heir to the Empire.
Doris
That's
Kaiboff.
the only Thrawn book I read.
Oh,
I think I did
interesting.
read that one.
So,
And
It's
I
been a long time though.
but
so
it's
that-
not Thrawn that's cloned.
No.
No.
Well, I say that, but there is another storyline that hints at
Mm.
him getting cloned. But
Why do you keep lying to me?
It's called memory problems.
yes, and they happen.
Uh,
But anyway, so I was a little disappointed with the Gideon reveal and
Yeah.
and then immediate disposal.
and then minor stuff like so Paz Vizsla has this heroic moment at the end of the last episode.
Yeah, very.
And there is
cathartic
zero
end.
acknowledgement of his sacrifice.
Yeah, poor
Yeah,
guy. We got his son Ragnar at the end, and like
And
there
even
wasn't
that was overshadowed by Din adopting Grogu, but I
Right.
kind of thought he already did.
I guess kind of same. So that
Maybe
I
it
bet
just was like an unspoken thing before.
I thought it
Right.
was like he's your son
Right.
at this point. Like
at
and
least
it was very sweet.
we have all felt that way, but this is the first time he's acknowledging it as like
Yeah,
a real
which
thing.
was a great moment. But then you're just
Yes.
shitting all over Paz Vizsla's son's. It's like
Can I please
Paz
have
got-
this one moment?
like we didn't even stop to have like some human moments. It was
Nah.
just
Paz Vizsla.
Yeah,
was a
we could have
dick.
had like a funeral and a baptism and an adoption all in that scene together. Okay.
Might as well have a divorce too.
Two of the Mandalorians just like signing divorce papers over here.
well,
I don't want to see you again.
and then you had the one of my favorite episodes of the season with Elia Kane and Dr. Parshing.
Oh right,
and,
yeah, huh?
Mhm.
And
nothing
it
nothing
didn't
there.
It didn't really
No.
like
Uh-uh.
she was covering Gideon's tracks, but
Well,
But
let's talk about that too.
it
I mean, like we
didn't-
all like I don't know about we all, but we definitely discussed it that because it really felt, and again, we fell into the trap of like thinking Star Wars was more complicated than it actually is. But it's the title was Spies, but we really
Yeah,
only
we-
got one that we knew of.
Yeah,
Um,
we pretty much threw everything at the
we really did. I mean,
at the wall
Yeah.
last
the
week.
armor
You did.
totally was acting very suspicious, and so let's go. I do want to go into this for a second because the armor, like her choices, her character choices, were not making sense to me, and I think
I think as an insanely religious person,
yes,
they completely make sense.
well,
Like someone who truly like we did talk about this last week. It's like
yeah.
if someone said, "No, I didn't have a vision of God. Like I literally saw
He,
God
like-
in the flesh."
Yeah, he like came to me. Yeah, like,
Then you're gonna
what?
say like, "Okay, well, great. You're the new leader of this experience."
You're a big deal.
oh, I mean, but also speaking of which,
Speaking of the witch,
the Mythosaur, man.
the Mythosaur man.
No, the Mythosaur, comma man.
Like
But yeah, I guess it felt weird, and her choices made me feel like she was being like she was acting suspicious. But
I think they did that on purpose to try to make you think that she was a spy.
so I think if that's the case, then I wanted some kind of something on the tail end that would be like, either Bo-Katan being like, I thought you were a spy, or you don't have to spell it out like that, but
I thought her working with her, like providing the reinforcements and
Yes.
fighting alongside of her
was enough.
was the answer to that question.
I get that. I suppose so. I guess yeah. I suppose you're right. I don't know what to say about that.
I wonder. I wonder,
So
just broadly
conflicted.
speaking.
Very conflicted,
If-
honestly.
I wonder,
Oh.
broadly speaking, if what they're trying to depict on the Mandalorian is limited by their ability to do this on television, and
Mm.
I can't help but wonder what a siege of Mandalore or a retaking of Mandalore would have looked like on a big screen.
My God.
With
Yeah.
with full film resources at your disposal, which they almost do. I mean, they've got a lot of money.
Yeah,
but
sure,
certainly.
but not film
but,
money.
but
The-
you are seeing where they are cutting back a little bit.
The likelihood of seeing, Mandalore in Filoni's film is, I think, highly likely.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So there's still room for it. But that being said, that particular moment would have been very cool to see in a film setting. Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk
yeah,
about.
just no,
why
sorry,
did
go.
they- I'm just gonna bring it up so then we can forget about it again. But
Yep.
why did they do the wrist clapping? again?
I literally thought about you when it happened. I was like, oh, there it is again.
No, I thought that was a
The gauntlet
one-time thing,
tapping.
and now it's like canon, and we're gonna have
ding,
to
ding,
see
ding,
that.
ding, 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 ding.
We're gonna have to see that forever.
Yeah,
We're all
forever.
gonna have to do it.
Oh
Mhm, mhm.
no, I don't want to. It's,
It's
gonna
a
happen
thing.
so much at Celebration.
It's a
They're gonna be
thing.
clinking away. I hate it. Also, loved the music in this
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah,
Thought it was great.
definitely good music
Big,
for sure.
Big shout out to Joseph Shirley.
Yep.
Don't call me Shirley.
Shirley. Don't call me Shirley. Who replaced Ludwig
Mhm.
Göransson in this one. You might remember Joseph from Book of Boba Fett.
And the
He did
Amazing
that
Technicolor
whole-
Dreamcoat.
No.
Different Joseph.
And he recently did Creed 3. So good job. Good
Yes.
job, Joseph.
Look at this photograph.
Yeah, no, this was in
Different
particular a great musical episode.
Yeah, I felt
Epic and
tingly a couple of times
Yes.
from the choices of music.
Tingly
So.
winglies.
But
Mhm.
I mean, guys, the Mythosaur, like, I know maybe
know.
this is a
I
season 4
wanted
thing,
it.
but it's like, what?
You're really
wanted it
gonna
so
you're gonna
bad.
show
Why'd
him
you
a
set it up
second
the
time. You're gonna show him a second time just in the depths.
Like for what?
I know.
I guess
We know it's there.
So
It-
so we're there. It. I mean, let's talk about it. I feel like so the assumption is that they are teasing us, saying that Grogu was going to tame the Mythosaur and then become like. Is he like the new like high cheese Mandalore, Ian?
Well, I don't know because he's now off with Dad. You know,
Yeah, doing.
I'm assuming the next season of Mandalorian is really going to be them.
Mandalorian.
Oh, well, actually, it's funny. I was reading an article about an hour or two ago where there was speculation that season 4 is actually going to be kind of a reworking of Rangers of the New Republic.
Oh,
Yes.
Where it's Din and Carson Teva.
yes, it
Well,
does.
basically-
they did set that up.
Very much so. I mean,
There's a
seems-
reason he went to visit him afterwards, other than to show us Dave Filoni and his giant hat in the episode. but-
Yes.
Yeah.
which completely took me out of it, by the way. But
I know. I was like, oh, there he
you
is.
had to wear the hat? Okay.
of course.
Guess he
But
did.
there's a reason. I think basically that Cara Dune show is now going to be Din, Grogu, and Carson Teva patrolling the Outer Rim and fighting Imperial remnants.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I guess I didn't present this question, but it did make me think. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on this question. Have the characters in the show all had their arcs like completed that you can think of? Like specifically our main characters, like Din, Grogu, I guess now Bo-Katan.
Grief Karga, I guess.
Sure, Grief. Like, do we feel like they've all like reached the end of their arc? Because I mean, like, I'm not a writer, but I mean, of course, anybody could have like an end of an arc and then start a brand new arc, easy. But I guess I just don't see what that new arc would be for Grogu and Din yet, because it feels like we have completed their journey to become like father and son.
Well, right, and Din did complete his two biggest
main
objectives,
yeah,
which was
yeah.
one, to rescue Grogu and deliver him safely to his people, which was
Yep.
number 1, and then 2 was making up for removing his helmet.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which, when the armorer said, Bo can walk around without it, I was like,
I was like,
that was
okay,
fast.
so that was for nothing.
But so that's what I
Yes.
was saying before. Like it felt very suspect, and I was like, I know. Like she said something, but even the episode before where she told her about the Mythosaur, like her first reaction was just like, "Oh, that's sweet."
Well, maybe
course
she's
you
about.
did.
Maybe she's about.
cour-
to put
of course
them
you
in-
did, hon.
Maybe she's about to put them into some situation where she wanted to have all of the Mandalorians
Yeah.
in one place.
Well,
I don't
so
know.
my point was, like, I think what I was getting to is that there was a lot of convenient things that happened because it felt like maybe the writers felt like, I don't want to say they were rushed, but like they needed to get from A to B, and like it had to happen within those episodes and just get it done fast. Because 8 episodes isn't a lot. And they're not even hour-long episodes, so they had a lot. Yeah,
A lot of ground to cover.
yeah,
But
potentially.
you know, it was this odd phenomenon of going fast and slow at the same time.
Right.
It's like we were slow to reach the endpoints, but really fast in the moments, when they came.
Right. And I think you're
Yeah.
right about that because like even in like the, the episodes that were going slow, we got they would like, begin and cap them with like little like minute things that tell us about the Mandalorian story. But they're like so fast like yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I am interested to see where it goes, but and I guess it's a good thing that I don't know where it's going. It's definitely a good thing. I just hope that there's more story to tell.
Like they're going to focus on the Carson, Din Djarin, Grogu thing.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that's gonna be like if it's gonna have a very a more episodic feel, or if it's gonna feel like if there's gonna be like another like overarching thing.
I
Whatever
think they would benefit from going more like season 1 was, where we do know there's a lot going on in the background, but really focusing on a self-contained.
I really liked the pace. I know it was jarring for a lot of people, but I
Din
really
jarring.
You can see yourself out, sir.
Sure.
I just enjoyed the pacing of season 1 so much.
Yeah, me
I
too.
loved how long they let us sit in every single moment.
Yeah.
And really just other than saying I really enjoyed it and I missed that part of it this season all the way through.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and honestly, I know the three of us were texting about who could potentially pop up in this episode to kind of save the day moment, like an Ahsoka or a Boba was a really popular one.
Sure.
I'm actually glad we weren't, I'll use it as a verb, cameoed in this episode, and that they allowed the characters.
We were cameoed so hard in episode 21. So
and I did not consent to that cameo.
Oh my god.
No, but I appreciate that they at least made the effort to resolve this story with the characters they had on the chessboard
that were present. Yes.
And Boba coming out of nowhere with no context other than
like haven't even been called.
They would have used some line like "You helped me, now I help you," and
I was following you guys. I saw y'all going to Mandalore, and I figured, you know what, they're gonna need some help.
And there was a little much like including Carson Teva. We talked about
R5. R5, probably called
R5
Boba.
and Carson Teva just like knowing where R5 is somehow with them, and Carson Teva knowing exactly where to find them.
R5 knows everything, so that
R5 is now one of the most important droids in.
Apparently,
yes.
And why?
Add him to the list.
Oh, also, and has jets, which is kind of fun.
Yeah,
it's a new thing.
Yeah,
R5 has got jets. Yeah, I mean, lots of cute, like very convenient things happening.
Sorry, R5's got jets and he knows.
There it is. There it is.
But yes, I did appreciate that they settled this
with the people there.
with the main
cast
characters.
we have.
Yes,
Yeah,
for sure.
There is a quote from Rotten Tomatoes that I think really kind of summarizes how I feel.
About the season or about
this episode?
Oh, this episode.
Shall I read it?
Certainly. Is this from a like a random
This is
user?
from a critic. No, this is
Just
from a critic. Yeah. They said a disjointed season yields a clunky climax, but the return concludes this particular saga on a high enough note, while also promising a fresh start for the Mandalorian going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, yeah. Because it does kind of like, I mean, truly, it does feel like we've reached an arc end, and whatever they're setting up for the next season sounds like it's going to be a very like, okay, now we're going a different direction, or back to its roots.
I've said this a few times. the more time goes on, the more I feel like that
You just don't want to be.
that season 2 finale was shortchanged. And
Season 3?
no, season 2.
Sorry, season 2.
Like that when Luke shows up and he gives Grogu away, and how we all felt, and that being like
Oh.
one of the best Star Wars moments you ever seen.
Truly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all of it has been wiped.
Like, yeah, I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, when they say clean slate, that's what they mean. Like, we're back to square one,
Potentially.
or if not square one, we're back to,
Yeah.
Din and Grogu, and like, sure, we learned a lot along the way, but
Yeah. It served its, his time with Luke definitely served some sort of purpose because he's now honed his
Sure.
Force skills more, which, I mean,
But I think I even remember saying when we were having our season 2 discussions that, or really when we were wrapping up season 2, I knew we'd see Grogu again. My hope was that it would be just for the sake of
further down the
narrative.
line.
Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
know. And then when you the payoff of that reunion would be
yes,
So
just
much,
unbelievably powerful.
Yeah.
certainly.
But now it's like, no, we couldn't handle it, so the population couldn't handle it, and we need to sell toys, so
Yeah.
he has to come back. I was like, well,
There
alright.
was a significant, like, we did say this before, but it did feel like this season in particular felt like a redirect, like
Yeah.
we are transitioning into a new.
Right, which is the
direction.
direct result of Lucasfilm finally picking a lane as far as where they were going with the films.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
now we know there's
Actually,
a
you're-
Filoni
yes.
movie that's tying up the Mandoverse. They're like, okay, we need this to have.
To say that it had that had no effect on the season, I think that would,
No.
yeah.
That's not.
just not
That's
true.
not. Yeah. That's just not true.
Yeah.
And I think I have said that when that movie comes out, we might, depending on what plot lines it picks up, or even what season 4 picks up, we might look more kindly on some of these episodes that at
Yeah.
the time of watching we thought were a little,
Funny.
I don't know, insignificant. But
Sure.
But yeah, maybe it will hold more weight than it did.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. We now have and Grogu's found a new trick up his sleeve. It's pretty fun. He can
yes,
he can like block
another
his shield.
another small.
I was gonna
Okay.
say the only time we've seen that before, I think, right, was Kanan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
Yeah.
cool.
That was a very cool shot too.
Very cool. Yeah, very neat. Although I laughed a little bit like right before because you see freaking Bo-Katan like as this fucking giant thing is coming down and exploding, she like puts up her little itty bitty shield like
Her
it's
tiny
actually gonna do anything. She's like, well, at least I can protect my face. Yeah. So it was a cool moment for sure.
Another small setup that we didn't get a payoff for was I was certain that Grogu was going to get shot in the chest at some point.
Oh!
So we would remember that he had his little chest plate.
Yeah, right, the chest plate.
Yeah.
No, but that
I mean,
that-
maybe that did happen and it got cut. For time or
Oh, that's
something.
interesting thought. Yeah, who
Maybe.
knows? Maybe
I mean,
they're-
yeah, you don't want to depict shooting children, of course.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
there was like a thing when he like stood up and he kind of like rubbed his chest.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like it's possible that was like the indication
Sure.
that a bullet had deflected off of it. You know.
Mm-hmm. Could be. Yeah, actually, I
That-
didn't even think about that, Dino. But maybe you're right. Maybe there was a scene and they were like uncomfortable.
I don't know. That's
Mm.
nitpicking, but it just
Could be.
kind of became a filing cabinet of
But-
small little things that I was like, wait, we never.
Hey, what about
okay,
that?
no,
But-
we'll move on.
But
But,
yeah, you're
okay.
right. There were certain things that they like that they the camera, the director like pointed our attention to. Like they're like, look at this. We think that this is important and that you should think that this is important. And then we're like, okay, I am here.
I see it.
I
It's
see
important.
it. I'm trying to connect the dots. Okay. And then we did connect the dots, and it turns out it wasn't as important as we thought. I think it was important for a different reason. I think is what we were. So
Yeah,
like,
it's ceremonial.
it was
and I
more
get that.
ceremonial, and it was like you are now
Sure.
part of the tribe. Like you are like we're making your Mandalorian your trip to being a Mandalorian. This is like the beginning of your journey kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I buy that.
Yes, but it definitely felt like it was again falling into the trap of thinking that Star Wars is deeper than it really is. But I think we weren't the only ones that were feeling like those moments were like deeper than they were.
You and I said this a couple episodes ago, Daniel, when it was you and I, when I said I thought we were spoiled by the fact Andor came out so recently.
Oh, uh-huh.
And you saw the you say Star Wars a lot of the time isn't deep, which, I mean, I know what you mean by that. But I would say Andor is living proof that if well articulated, Star Wars is quite deep and profound.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I think at least putting the writing up against Andor does not put this season of Mandalorian in a great light.
No, I agree.
Yeah, particularly because I guess Bad Batch technically was between.
Well, and even Bad Batch, especially towards the end, the animated writing.
It got some
yes,
good stuff in there.
It's geared towards kids, but I was rewatching some Rebels episodes again in the last couple days.
Mm-hmm. Which I'll recommend that you do because it's an amazing show.
And there is some spectacular dialogue.
Oh yeah.
Like really, I was like, oh, damn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like they really nailed these characters. In Mandalorian, it was just kind of, and it wasn't always this way, but especially this season, it was just jumping from one moment to another and
characters making choices that didn't completely make sense all the time.
It was clunky. That's why that's
exposition-y.
Exposition-y. Yeah, and it was trying, it was moving the plot along, to get from A to B.
Well, when you're asking yourself, why did that happen? Not in the sense of like, why did that happen story-wise or character-wise? Like, it's like when you're asking yourself, well, but why did they do that? Because it probably has something to do with where things are going. That's not a good indication of
probably not
allowing the season to sit on its own.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess that's a good thing to think about with like Marvel stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's like if you're asking yourself, why did they do that? Not out of character or story arc, but because they're trying to connect dots for the next 6 properties. It's like, okay, at some point
I will say
we gotta relax on that then.
I think I can pretty confidently say though that the Star Wars, I mean like Lucasfilm, obviously their effects department is just like
Industrial Light and Magic is
Marvel studio right now.
Comparison. Comparison.
At least to the TV studio.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, yeah, you look at this the Mandalorian fight sequence versus like any of the fight sequences in like Moon Knight, for example.
Yeah.
Where they basically just like cut away from camera and had him transition into a different character.
Yes, or She-Hulk.
Like,
yeah.
Or She-Hulk, where
same
they
difference,
just
yeah.
Yeah, or
ILM
even
is killing it.
Yeah, they're very, very good at what they do.
Yeah, which I think anybody could have guessed that would happen probably, but I guess.
But it's still nice to see, nice to recognize.
Yeah, good job, Star Wars.
You did it.
But yeah,
if there.
No, go ahead.
Go for it. No, I was going to say if there was. Is there a thread in season 3 that you hope gets picked up in season 4? Like one in particular. It could be big or small.
Yes. I think there are several. I mean, obviously I want to like know what the hell is going on with the mythosaur and why that will be important now that Mandalore has taken over and Bo-Katan is the head. You know what I mean? I mean, like you know how like what problem is it going to solve, or is it going to create new problems? You know what I mean? I guess I want to know like why it's important now, because I was thinking in my head, you know, we were building up to this. I thought we were building up to the point like where at the end of the season she was gonna like the Bo-Katan or anybody was gonna need the mythosaur to like succeed in whatever they were trying to do, but that wasn't the case. So now that they have what they want, why is a mythosaur important? You know, is it just now? You know, just like it's extra special sauce on top, like.
Or does
sprinkles.
it? Yeah, or does it remain symbolic?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
They never
totally.
even see it.
Maybe we don't. Maybe it's just little sprinkles. Like there's sprinkles on top of the sundae. I also want to see. I still want to. I do still want to see a little bit more of what's going on with Elia Kang, and it's like, is she now that Moff Gideon is gone? Like, was she only working with Moff, or like is she like a double spy? Is she working with other sects of the? I want to know what's going on with her. And also like is what's his face dead now? Pershing, like, or
No,
just
he's
like
not dead.
brain-
He just, I mean,
Well,
brain dead, maybe.
Moff Gideon did say, I think, that like his like what do you call him, his experiments or his whatever were like I can't remember the exact wording, but it was basically like when he was talking to the Shadow Council, he was like his experiments are gone for now. I think like he was using it as if like, you know, we don't have it yet, but maybe someday is kind of the wording was what it made it sound like. So does that mean that they are taking Pershing's, you know, experiments and then expanding upon them, or like Pershing is actually going to have some kind of a, you know, like he's going to be there doing it, like continuing on his own experiments? I want to know what the hell.
What about you, Alyssa?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot to be explored with like seeing how the Mandalorians actually live
Yeah.
together with these different, very, very different sects all coming together, you know?
Yeah, actually, that was some of the most interesting stuff when they were like answering like really simple questions about the Mandalorians, like just them like eating in private, you know what I mean? Like
yeah, so I think there's like interesting things there. I think that there obviously is, whether it is the armor, I think Axe is probably dead. I mean, he drove that.
Oh no,
flew
we
out.
saw him. Yeah, we
Flew
saw him punch out the window. You may. If
he
you
did
blink,
punch out.
Yeah, if you
Okay,
blinked, you
then
might have missed it.
I blinked.
Yeah,
I missed it.
totally.
Okay, so yeah, potentially maybe there's some sort of mutiny underneath with certain Mandalorians.
This is the
I
way.
feel like that
They
is
don't like
interesting.
to fight together. They always have something to fight about.
Yeah, and something about the Mandalorians and just their just very, very fascinating history and how the creed is important to some and not. Like that's stuff that I would love to see. I don't know if they'll go there next season, but
I think I'd like
maybe.
to add, and this probably won't be next season, but I do want to continue to see. Well, no, we're not continue because we haven't really seen yet. Because it sounds like we're building the Mandalorians back up, you know, so the point where they're like so powerful that, you know, why shouldn't they have taken down the First Order before it even started? So I want to know why that didn't happen. You know,
Yeah.
I want them to answer that question. Answer it.
Yeah, that's mostly what I'm interested in potentially seeing.
Same.
Not that I don't love Mando and Grogu, but it does feel a little bit like, unless they create something entirely new other than going on the errands for the New Republic,
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot riding on the two of them at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have to agree, because I think what I'd like to see is both what you alluded to, the rebuilding of Mandalorian civilization, and then how how they kind of interact with the New Republic.
Yeah. Mhm.
And Daniel, I remember we were having kind of a tangential conversation about were the Mandalorians present at the Battle of Exegol, like were
Right,
there
yes.
Mandalorian
Right,
ships?
right,
So yes, there
right.
were. I went and,
Oh,
and
oh, you-
found
Oh.
I found the account that documented every ship
I'm
that was
so
there,
incredible.
glad you did
Okay, that's great.
this.
That's great.
and there are Mandalorian fighters
Okay.
present. So
Perfect.
they're
Why
around.
didn't we get those in the movies?
I mean, to be fair, you could have looked at that giant mess of ships
Sure.
and hadn't. Zero,
There were so many ships. How could you possibly?
14,000, I
Yeah,
believe, was the final
yeah.
count.
Could you
like,
imagine just like a zoom in of every single like cockpit, just so we
It's like
can
38 minutes.
You see Grogu. He's like,
It's like Portals from Endgame, but
Exactly.
it's just
Yeah,
38
yes.
minutes of showing every ship type. It's like,
Yes, yes.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, same.
I mean, I'd watch it.
Yeah.
Just
I'd
to
roll
see
my
the
eyes,
different.
but I'd
just
watch
to
it.
see the different.
Yeah.
Just to see the different ships.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
But just to see what their role is in the galaxy and what role will they play in.
I mean, truly, actually,
Theoretically-
wait, go back to that. Do you like? Can you imagine the Star Wars nerds that would have pooped their pants? I mean, I don't think that the buildup would have. They need the buildup to get to that moment. So, but like, if the buildup had been done right, and they got to that moment, and we got to see like Harrison Dula driving her, Chevy, and then we got the. I think. Oh man, yeah, that would have been.
But that movie already suffered because it came out the December after Endgame, the same year.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
Rey's line to Palpatine, and I am all the Jedi. Everyone was like, I am Iron Man?
Yeah.
Question mark.
Is
So
that
you
what
guys
you
just-
meant?
No,
Took that.
they already had
from-
kind of the derangements.
Yeah,
at
Yes.
the
It's true.
end.
It's true.
I
But,
am no
anyway.
man.
I am curious to see how the Mandalorian role evolves in combating Thrawn and
Mm-hmm.
then may take a step further what they're doing at around the time of Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see that, and then I suppose we got all of the backstory we needed on Din,
Mm.
but we kind of just maybe that was just a season 1 thing, but we kind of just brushed past it.
No,
and I
no,
will say.
I
I will say the
definitely
one
wanna know that.
connective tissue or one setup that they did pay off was his ability to trust droids, and by the end he relies on droids a great
Yeah,
deal, which I actually
yeah.
think was a very subtle and great.
And that was throughout the
Tie-up.
season too, with
Yeah.
the droid bar and all of the stuff.
Oh, we
that
didn't even talk
happened
about
in the
IG-11's
spooky
return.
in the spooky. Well, yeah, I was gonna ask you all how you felt about the actual return of IG-11.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
fine.
too.
It's
It's
fine.
fine.
Totally fine.
Because he's gonna be there, and I don't think that it's really gonna be anything.
But that
else
was
other
another
than
one of
that.
like
Yeah.
it completely undoes his sacrifice.
Yeah, kinda. I mean, is he the same droid though? That's what I'm confused about. Like, it's not the.
I mean, he called himself IG-11.
Well,
so...
sure, but
I mean,
like,
he got
that's-
reprogrammed with a different processor. Or
Yeah, so I don't think he has
whatever,
like the
but
memories of.
Yeah, so it's still like a.
He is different, but
different?
I don't know. It was like we are. Somebody, I didn't get through the entire article, but there was a. Trying to remember the publication, but the author said Star Wars has a death problem.
Nobody dies.
And I cannot
I had
agree.
this conversation with Chassis today.
I cannot agree more.
Yes, absolutely. So
They
does,
have a
to be,
fear
to
of
be
letting
honest,
go.
so does Marvel.
Yeah.
So does Marvel. Big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Look at every movie. I mean, the only really through line is Thanos, and they are able to defeat him. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I just and it's a thing in the comics as well, and comic readers who read both Marvel and DC. That is a huge conversation that always happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel kills their villains immediately.
Yep.
Look at all of Batman's villains.
Right.
Look how fascinating and interesting and how mentally insane that makes him
Yeah.
to know that they're still there, like
yeah.
But I also think the death problem and what this author was getting at was they're afraid to keep people dead.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's that's where my problem is that they're afraid to let things go.
Mm-hmm.
And up to now, that's why, not to keep bringing up Iron Man, but like that's why Tony's death was as
Meant what it
impactful
meant.
as it was, because it felt final.
Right. Well, and they still have not like brought him back, at least in any form yet, which is
No,
been
and you
smart.
know what? We will see him again. I'm
Assumedly
putting my
we
chips on
will.
the table.
Yeah, I know.
And maybe it won't be as we think,
Yeah,
in the
maybe.
way that we
yeah,
think.
it's gonna be different.
But all that to say that, I think Star Wars is just, I mean, look at Palpatine. They're just afraid to let old things die, to quote Ben Solo.
Yeah, right.
Which I think was the most intelligent line in the sequel trilogy, was let old things die. And I think that's what Rian Johnson was trying to do.
Yeah,
He
it was a little on the
certainly
nose.
was, and it made people real huffy. But
Because we
I
can't
agree. I
stand
agree
it.
with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And it's a tricky thing because we watch, these type of movies, we read these type of stories as a form of escapism,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
obviously.
Yep.
And having to actually let people die and not bring them back
Yeah.
and not do that kind of stuff, that's
hard.
upsetting. That's upsetting to humans.
Very upsetting.
Because we're like, no. This is my my safe Star Wars or my Marvel thing where
Right.
like you're not gonna kill him forever. Like we didn't see a body, no death. Like
Right.
I'm okay.
Yes.
But it's like
This
you
is-
said about Iron Man in particular, the reason that meant what it meant was because of the finality of the situation
Yeah.
and his ultimate self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
The this is why, Grease the musical,
No.
This is why Grease the
I don't know
musical-
what.
This is why Grease the musical sells out all the time.
That is not why Grease the musical sells out.
And
because
Parade
we're afraid of death.
and Parade doesn't,
That is a terrible example.
I cannot think of a worse example, Daniel.
I don't.
That was your worst
even
input
know, I
in
do
the
not
3
know
years
where
of
to
this
begin with
podcast.
that. Oh,
was-
Listen, you
what
don't
was that
know
line from Billy
anything about
Madison? What was that
anything.
line
What?
from Billy Madison? We are now dumber for having listened to that. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah, God have mercy. Oh my God.
jeez.
It's true
That's it's not.
No.
though. More people go see Grease than they go see Parade.
I think
They
you're making
do,
a
but
point
it's
about
not because-
nostalgia, but I don't think that's directly
doesn't.
tied to it.
I do understand what you're saying.
We do have a
Not-
nostalgia problem as well. I
Yes.
think.
Yes,
Yes,
That's
yes.
fair. You can tie the nostalgia thing in with it, but that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
I go to Greece because I'm afraid of death. I saw Greece for the
that's
5th time
exactly
because
my
I'm
point.
afraid of death.
That is exactly my point. Thank
no,
you
when
for
when they fly off in that car, they are all going to heaven. That is how I interpret the end
honestly
of that
though,
show.
yes. Like truly, I think that like they got in the car
Or
but
hell. They're
they
flying to hell.
yes, they went
For
like,
underage smoking.
the final scene is them going like to the fair. They get drunk at the fair, then they get in the car. They crash the car.
Yeah, when Sandy and Danny go through the tunnel, the spinning tunnel.
That's heaven.
That yes,
It's Valhalla.
that is
That's
it. They get up. Well,
They go to the same place they go to at Mad Max.
Oh yeah.
Oh sure,
Well,
sure.
first of all, I'm never going to see Grease again. But if someone
Did you
chained
know
me
you're
to a
going
seat,
to?
No, I won't.
It's
I-
going to.
No, Alyssa's fine with death. She's never going to see
I'm
it.
good with it. I'm not gonna go see it. I didn't go. I'm sorry, local theater, but didn't
No.
go see it at MTW. Didn't go see it at La Mirada.
Yeah.
Had many friends in it. Love you.
Yeah.
Glad you're working. Glad they're paying you money. But
I'm
I'm
glad
not
for
gonna
you.
see
You
it.
Yes.
couldn't pay me.
But
to
I
be there.
will not.
Yeah.
I was in Grease the musical for 6 months of my life,
I've done Grease 3 times.
I have never done it. I will
I'm-
never
and
do it.
you don't
don't.
need to, and you won't.
No, you don't. Yeah.
And I can't tell you the joy and relief I felt when I said, "This is the last time I'm going to the prom, and I'm never going to the prom again after this."
I can't
and I'm
do it
never
anymore.
Eating 3 Twinkies on stage every night.
Show me on the doll where Grease touched you.
Yeah, really though.
Just
Seriously.
my whole entity.
Oh God.
Wow, that was a big tangent.
Jeez.
Jeez Louise.
But yes, going back to the article that you read, Dino, I totally agree with that. And I hope that they deal with Moff Gideon, and
Yeah.
I'm going to combine the Bad Batch conversation into this as well
Mm-hmm.
with Echo. Like, I
right.
really don't bring Echo back.
But
But
I think
they probably will.
Yeah, I was gonna say with our conversation that we just had, I think it's
For
very
me,
likely.
I want Moff Gideon back because I just felt like that was a disappointing end to him.
Well, yeah, I mean, and even just going back to the last episode where he's talking to Captain Pallion, and he's like, "Well, your guy's not here, so maybe we need a change in leadership." I really want to see what
Yes, in his
what
new suit.
what Thrawn and Gideon
everything.
have to say to each other.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
Ooh, yeah,
Yeah,
baby.
when he comes back, he's
because
just like, "What
we've
have you been doing in my bed?"
we've explored New Republic politics, but I would love to see the politics of a bunch of warlords with no leader.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Trying
that's
to-
scary.
and then-
That's scary, and that's cool.
Totally. But they're like shadow cancel like that. Like one scene was an episode within itself. I was like,
Yes.
ooh, this is
Well, and some of the
fun.
best scenes of Andor were in the ISB headquarters.
Yep.
Some of the best written dialogue scenes I've ever seen in Star Wars, where all these very scary Nazi-like people sitting around a table just casually talking about the awful things they're going to do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And nothing ratchets up the tension more than very smart, very well-written villains, which I think Gideon,
Like
and
in
a lot of
Grease,
this,
the musical.
like Grease the musical, and the
They're
villain
all
being
villains.
underage sex.
Right.
It's a metaphor. Look it up.
Yeah.
But I think
Right.
Gideon, and a lot of the credit goes to Giancarlo Esposito, just because he could say anything and it would be sinister. And
Yes.
Right, and he is a nerdy actor who decided 7,000 things about Moff Gideon prior to shooting.
Which is very
You know what I
cute.
mean?
which you can tell.
Yeah,
Yes, you
yeah.
can because he's like so omnidimensional. It's amazing.
Yeah. He's
But the way
actor.
to go back to it, the way they showed him being quote unquote killed. I mean,
No,
not
that's
even
not
close.
it.
You
I need
can't.
him- I need
You
him-
can't introduce like a hallway full of clones and just like no. There's no way. The guy. If this one is gone, there's at least 20 more of them out there. And now
Or
they're
even
force
if even if
sensitive.
they're not, taking the advances he did make,
But here's
and
the
either
thing.
sharing them or trying it again. I don't know.
So if we're just assuming that he's coming back, narratively it's starting to make sense because the first iteration of Moff Gideon we got was this kind of like he's this remnant of the Imperials and he's just a guy, crazy good leader obviously, and he's doing well for himself, but inevitably gets killed. Second iteration, and we see him is he's been upgraded, which is like this is like video game like
Sure,
type of
Yeah,
rules.
well, his Dark Trooper
Dark Trooper.
program is like phase 2.
Uh-huh. Yeah. He's gotten a new upgrade. Level 3. We've now moved up, and now he's got like Beskar armor, and he's like also created these Force clones, which we don't get to see in action. And that I think might be the teaser for maybe season 4 or maybe further than that. But I think that to rob us of seeing a Force sensitive Moff Gideon, it feels like
Well,
come
and
on.
like it or not, folks, a lot of the storytelling being done right now, at least on the periphery, is to explain the line "somehow Palpatine returned."
right.
It's
right.
the somehow.
Yes.
And we have yet to see this somehow. We're getting hints of it. But
We've gotten some things. We've gotten the some.
anybody who thought the sequels were being retconned are not happy right now, because everything coming up is designed to explain the conditions in which the sequel trilogy could happen.
We've gotten the sum of the somehow. We just need the how.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I feel like we were pretty lukewarm and at times critical on this season of Mandalorian, but I am really excited for season 4, and
Me too.
because they're better or for worse, because there is a reset, I think it gives them a chance to kind of get back to the
some more-
formula that worked.
And before that, we get a freaking season of Ahsoka. Oh my god. And that looks like it
Which
is the
I'm trying
tits.
every day just to manage my expectations.
Yeah, I know, same.
Yeah, just go in. Yes,
Just go in. I mean, go in how we went into Andor. Go in how we went into Andor.
Yeah,
like,
that's a fair
do
point.
We,
Like,
do
we
we absolutely
this?
need this? Maybe, maybe not. Let's just like watch a Star Wars.
It's gonna be so hard to do that because I really feel like I do need this.
Yeah, that's a great
Just-
example too,
just
Alyssa,
try.
because
Just try.
Andor was the one where we all went,
Do we need
yeah,
this?
okay. I mean, he wasn't even the main character of Rogue One, but
Yeah,
fine, fine.
right.
We like
And then
him.
it turned into
That's interesting, amazing,
one of the best
cool.
pieces of Star Wars ever written.
So
Yep.
freaking cool. Yeah. That is legit.
So yeah, I think keeping expectations in check and knowing full well that you're getting a live action Ahsoka again,
Mhm.
you're getting live action Thrawn.
Oh my
Anything
God.
after that is just
Just like
gravy, baby.
yeah,
Gravy baby.
It's just gravy, baby.
I feel like that perfectly kind of encapsulates like how we are as Star Wars fans as the three of us. We're like just manage the expectation. Of course, there's going to be some perfect things. There's going to
We
be
learned.
some unperfect things.
We learned
And
from
then-
WandaVision.
Yes.
Exactly. And then we get to sit and talk to our friends about it. So how
Yeah.
awesome is
How
that?
awesome.
Well, and I will say that is a great point. And from the beginning, since the three of us really started talking about Star Wars, I think it's very apparent that we just love every opportunity to have Star Wars, and we're going to have our gripes. But at the end of the day, it's another chance to go to that galaxy and hear or see stories and
Star Wars is family.
there's so many flavors.
Yeah, right. Like Ben
Yeah.
and Jerry's.
Ben and Jerry's.
All right,
family.
well,
Star Wars is Ben.
Okay,
and
well, I
Jerry's.
think that probably
that's
does
season
about
3 of
does it.
Mandalorian. Up next,
We'll
though, we have.
always
uh,
be together.
Now I'm just
Clank,
going to think about
clank,
being.
clankety clank, shabab.
Anytime I hear about Grease, anytime I hear Grease playing, it's like I'm afraid
in
of
hell.
death. I fear death.
Yay.
But we've got Star Wars Visions
we
in the
do,
not too
May
distant
4th.
future. We've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3
Yes.
on May 4th.
Oh my god!
yeah,
which is so fun. And are we not getting really any Star Wars content on May 4th? I mean, I doubt that they would try to come out on the same day, but
Streaming wise, yeah. Doesn't Visions come out on May the 4th?
I think so.
oh, there we go.
Yeah, Visions and the
something gotta
the
give us
kids
something.
YouTube series,
Right.
the
Oh, right,
Adventures
right,
of the
right.
Jedi, right?
And
Is that what it's called?
there's a possibility maybe they drop
Something.
another look at something.
A
but,
nugget.
and then we'll have Guardians of the Galaxy to talk about, which I'm excited for that movie.
Me too.
And then a month later, we got Indiana Jones.
Oh my god!
Ooh,
So-
are we gonna?
so we're gonna have some
cover
fun
that
stuff to
probably,
talk
right?
Oh,
yeah,
I would like that.
hands down. Yeah,
Okay, great.
hands down.
Our
You're gonna
first
do it,
indie.
Alyssa. You're gonna like it.
Oh, okay. All right. Wow.
Don't get to say anything about it. No,
All
we're
right.
absolutely.
I'll be here, but I won't say anything.
You sit there and you look at it.
So we
gonna
got
like
we
it.
got plenty coming down the pipe, and yeah, stay tuned because
Just
now that we
like
have on the heels of Celebration, now that we have all of these announced projects, which
they didn't
they
sell
really
any
do
Celebration heels. They should have.
fine, but now that we have all of these announcements, and we feel pretty good about them actually coming to fruition, we'll start to see more news trickle out about those. So stick with us to
Yes.
to get the inside track on all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also Comic-Con, Daniel and I are going to Comic-Con in July. That's going to be here in a blink of an eye, honestly. And
Literally.
maybe we'll actually get our shit together and do like on the spot, like vlogging.
Yes,
I would like
that
that.
absolutely
I
needs
think
to
that'd be
happen.
fun.
Yes.
Let's try it. I feel overwhelmed by that idea, but let's just
You just carve out a quiet little spot outside and do a little.
do a little chatty.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Also, we want to hear from you too because, like, I want to know like what your favorite episode was. I want to know what you thought about this episode. I want to know what you think about the whole season.
Where do you stand
know,
on the role of
the-
death in
Yeah.
Grease?
Also,
How do you feel about Grease?
Are you more about Grease or more about Parade?
Is Grease a metaphor for what happens after you die?
Yeah.
What if all of the characters of Grease were actually just reincarnated into the characters of Parade?
Sandy, no, my theory is Sandy was in a massive car wreck, and the story of Grease is her just before she
her
passes
coma
on.
dream.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God, that's almost
All right,
as sad
this
as
is the only way. You heard it here. The only way I'll ever see Grease done again is if it's done with that direction.
It's a coma dream.
If
Honestly-
it starts out, or in an insane asylum, like she's like brought
Oh,
onto the stage in a
shit.
straitjacket,
Oh shit!
and then we go back into Summer Lovin'.
Are we producing this?
Wait, is this good?
this
did we
might
make-
be
wait.
good.
Oh, can you
Did we
imagine the
make
trailer
Grease
with
good?
a Summer Lovin' in like a minor key?
Yes, I
Doom,
certainly could.
Doom 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 doom.
It reminds
We
me
have to
of
go.
the.
We have to go.
Oh God,
Oh.
we've lost it. All right,
Oh,
sorry for
jeez.
the 7 people that we just bothered.
I'm so sorry, Seven.
Sick.
Oh God. All right. Anyways, this was Inside the Tauntaun. Thanks for listening.
Yes.
I'm Alyssa Simmons.
And I'm Daniel Dawson.
And I'm Dino Grace.
May the force be with you.
Always.
Inside the Tauntaun podcast. Please like and subscribe.